Afternoon, guys. Dave Canterbury at the Pathfinder School. What I thought I'd do today is do a little series here over the next few weeks, and I'll start out today with an episode of Pathfinder Cribs for you guys. You know, I've kind of been asked a few times to show some of the shelters that are out here that I inhabit, you know, or live in off and on. So I think I'll start with the Wikkie today. That's the most primitive type shelter that's out here and the least expensive to build yourself. I'm going to move from the Wikkie to the yurt. I'm doing some work on it right now, and I'll show you that work as it progresses on a series of videos about living in the yurt. And I've also got a cabin shell that's been delivered out here recently that we're going to start working on. That's a 12 by 20 with a 6-foot porch on it. We've got to finish the inside of it as well and show you how to live, you know, in like a line shack or a cabin as well. We've got the wood stove up there. We haven't installed it yet either. So all of these things are ways that you can live primitively if you want to, or semi-primitively, and I want to kind of go over them with you one at a time. And I've been asked to see this Wikkie several times, so I'm going to take you on a tour of the Wikkie right now. Stay tuned for this episode of Pathfinder Cribs. Okay guys, a lot of you have asked me for a video on this Wikkie. So right now I'm walking you around the outside here so you can see what the outside of it looks like. I'd say it's probably 15 feet tall at the apex, 10 to 12 feet deep at the back. It's a conical shape. It's got several layers of mud and leaves packed into it. Give you a detailed look and exposed area here of mud. This has 300 to 400 poles, probably in the structure itself, and probably 8 to 10 inches of mud with leaves packed on top of that. Now you can see I'm looking at an area right here. That's a potential leak. Okay, I see smoke coming out of there and I see a hole. That's something I'm going to want to patch. And that's the thing with these permanent type structures like this Wikkie is you have to all the time maintain them. So we'll go take a look at the inside of this bad boy and show you around. Okay, so here's a picture from the outside here looking in. Doors open. The stove or the fire pit or whatever you have inside there doesn't draft near as well with the door open as it does with the door closed. So if you're going to build a fire inside there and expect to heat that shelter up and stay inside of it, you know, you're not going to want to sit back in there with the door open because it won't draft right. Any wind that blows through that door is going to blow that smoke right back in your face. Okay, here we are in the inside now. Fire pit's right there, and you can see that real well. I've flapped the door over. It's not closed completely. There's a couple of open areas at the bottom where I haven't folded a blanket in. Usually I wouldn't start the fire till I was inside, and then I could just tuck that around the outside, but I haven't done that today for this demonstration anyway. So I want to show you, I've got my fire pit obviously, and then off to the side over here I've got a few pieces of greasewood here that I can use to start my fire with. I've got a little bit of firewood stacked up right there, not as much as I would have if I was going to be here all night. I've got a small end table here made out of a stump. Got a grease lamp type tallow candle on it made out of a gourd. Got a container here made out of a turtle shell. It's got a couple other containers in it and a small pipe bowl that was made for me by Ryan Eves in the last primitives class when we fired clay. And then I have a container for making charred cloth here that was given to me by Tony Daniels. You can see there's some char cloth in it. We made that during the primitives class as well. And I just use that for a place to put other things. I've got a gourd here laying off to the side that I'm going to use later down the road to make a dipping gourd out of for water. Then up here on the top I've got a set of tongs that I use for the fire. Right here. I use these tongs to pull things in and out of the fire as well as move firewood around. I've got my fire kit stuck up in the rafters there. You can see that fireboard and bow and spindle up there. Then right above my head here, spin this camera around so you guys can see. A little crowded in here with a camera. But we'll get there. Spin this dude around here. Up in the top here, I have a net. It's made by Miss Iris that we use basically just for a catch-all, you know, up at the top of the Wikkie, strung from the rafters here, and we put our stuff in there at night. That works out really well. And you can see the bed back here is a straw bed. It's got 2 big logs in front of it to keep the straw from coming out. You can see my backpack sitting here in the background, and the straw bed goes way deep in the back there. You can see that. That's where Iris and I slept, and sometimes still do, for that matter. Okay, so you've got the bed area, and you've got the end table over there. You got an area to stack your wood. You've got a fire pit here that I'm kind of letting die down. I just stuck some grease wood in there so you guys could get the idea today of how that works and how that looks. And then on this other side over here, I don't have much. It's just basically a storage area. It's empty. I've got a screen grate there that I use on top of my stove, a mason jar over there that I used to melt tallow in at one time, and a flat rock. But that's just basically extra storage space over there. So it's a pretty good little system. I'll try to get this camera off the tripod for a minute and let you take a look at this thing drafting through the roof if I can. You can probably still see, you can see daylight through there, and you can see the smoke rising up through it. And that's what you want. Now I've got a little more daylight here than I want at the door level. I can see daylight coming through there. So I need to close that in a little bit. That blanket stretched across there pretty tight. I can stuff that in with some leaves and things like that, and that'll take care of that. Might be an area for cold air to sneak in, but Iris and I slept in this thing during the primitive class. All nights of the primitive class, it was 26 degrees. We had a thermometer in here, it was 64 degrees inside here when the fire was going. Enjoyed that tour of the Wikkie. You know, a shelter like that's not something you're going to throw up in a 2-hour emergency survival type situation. To be honest with you, that Wikkie took about 15 to 18 guys 6 hours to build. There's a lot of material involved in that. There's a lot of maintenance involved in something like that, but it is absolutely livable beyond the shadow of a doubt, as long as you don't have a whole lot of gear. If you're living, you know, the minimum lifestyle that I like to live, and you don't have a whole lot of gear sitting around that you don't need inside that shelter, you got plenty of room in there to be comfortable. The temperature maintains, you know, anywhere from 50 to 65 degrees with a fire in there, no matter how cold it gets outside, it seems like. I'm sure if it got down below 0, it'd be colder than that in there, but you can stoke the fire up a little bit. And you got plenty of room in there for your belongings. It's a comfortable way to sleep. You got that straw bed in there. There's a bed straw bed in there right now. That's basically on the ground, protecting you from conduction. You could use field millet, field grass, any cuttings like that you could use to make that bed straw bed. I just happened to have went out and gotten a bale of straw from out here on the farm and used that inside that Wikkie. But you could use anything you wanted for that bed. The design of that bed's what's important. It takes up the whole back half of that shelter, so it's big enough for 2 people to sleep in very, very comfortably. I appreciate you guys joining me for this video of Pathfinder Cribs Episode 1, and I'll be back with another video on the Pathfinder yurt and living in the yurt at the Pathfinder School very shortly. I plan to spend about 30 to 45 days in that yurt over the winter to show the livability of a portable yurt. Thanks a lot, guys.